What's happening, guys? Rion Dina here from Reshape, and today's video is about my 5 tips for any fitness bikini ladies going overseas to compete at an international show or at World Champs. My number 1 tip for anyone going overseas to compete at international stage is bikinis, guys. Make sure you study your competition, previous show winners, whether it be, obviously the Arnold Classic overseas, whether it be World Champs. Make sure that you understand the criteria and you study previous winners. Bikini choice is absolutely crucial. If you saw the top athletes in our country this year, they all did their homework, went back to last year's winners to each and every show, saw that Ifbb is favoring a more European look, European body, European cut bikini, and the top athletes decided to obviously change the bikini choices from the NPC level or the Pro League girls and went with a cup top with the high-waisted bikini bottom and completely emulated the European style body posing and bikini look, guys. So overseas, make sure you know which federation you do, which obviously if you're going to Ifbb Amateur World Champs, it's more obviously towards the European look. Make sure you don't get your pro fitness bikini cuts and shapes and styles. Make sure you follow the international winners from the Ifbb World Champs from the past and get your cup bikini and your high-waisted bottoms for your World Champs. Tip number 2, presentation. Once again, the top athletes in our country this year, as you saw, criteria changed, presentation changed, the posing completely changed from last year to this year. Once again, that step up in obviously presentation is going to be very important when standing on an international stage. When you stand on stage, international, or how can I say, Ifbb Pro League bikini poses, no twist of a body. You get what I'm trying to say? It's all broad, it's all upright, it's all straight on, guys, making sure your waist is as narrow as possible, your shoulders are nice and broad, opening up your back from the bottom, and making sure, once again, you study past previous obviously winners of each show or the show you are competing at, and making sure your posing is at world championship level, guys. That is very important. The third tip I have for you guys is conditioning. A lot of girls this year made the mistake of coming in too hard. It's one thing for you or your coach to prep you to just be absolutely shredded. It's not going to pay off in this day and age just being as lean as possible. There are so many different variables that go into winning shows, bikini choices, presentation, your actual condition. You cannot be too hard or separated. Once again, go back, watch the winners from last year's Ifbb World Champs and make sure your condition is spot on, guys. The SA Champs winners, the big Arnold Classic winners, they are all lean but not too hard. No separations, no veins, nothing like ab walls are, just like tiny and tight. There's no blocks, not separated glutes and hamstrings to extreme level. You gotta make sure that you are on point with your condition and not too hard. Even the girls that went over and did the Olympia, some of the girls you guys follow on Instagram, top obviously fitness athletes or models, didn't place this year at even the pro leagues because the condition for fitness bikini isn't shredded, it isn't hard. You need to go back, study, and make sure your conditioning is spot on for worlds. Tip number 4, and this is something a little bit different that people don't obviously think about. In my opinion, I think the biggest, how can I say, challenge overseas when going to World Champs, obviously, is a mindset. It's one thing being at your best at a show in SA where you are the top athlete, you've got your support system and structure and the people you love, around you and helping you and motivating you. Once you go overseas, majority of the people that go overseas, it's taken out of their comfort zone. They are alone overseas and now have to start worrying about so many different things. then they see someone they follow on Instagram at World Champs, and it is going to happen because a lot of you ladies follow the international top athletes, obviously from the European countries and from the States, etc. You will see them in real life and you will start doubting yourself. This is not a time to start doubting yourself or getting starstruck and thinking, I'm not worthy. I see this girl on Instagram, she's got 100,000 followers, why am I here? You cannot let that doubt creep in your mind. You've got to understand that the biggest challenge isn't what you're physically going to look like, but what you mentally bring to an overseas competition. It's the smaller things, making sure your mind is set on being perfect on stage, making sure your mind is set of posing from the get-go and not hesitating or being shy or holding back or being distracted by what other people are doing. Your mindset's got to be strong. If you see someone you see on Instagram or on Facebook you follow in front of you, pay no attention to it. Be inspired that you are there. Give yourself, validation that you are on stage with the best people in the world, people that you look up to. You got to understand that you are good enough to be there, and the person that's going to win that show is that believes it the most on that stage. So do not give, obviously any of that attention to someone you might follow on Instagram and take away from your own glory you can have on that stage. My fifth and final tip is probably the most important one. Competing, obviously in our country, it's very different. It's something you don't have to worry about. But once you travel overseas, you are going to step into an airplane. You are going to travel. You are going to fly for multiple hours. And it is so important to have a flight protocol, guys. It's so important because you can retain water so easy. A lot of people step on stage overseas and their conditions off. They were perfect when they obviously got onto the plane, here in South Africa, going to wherever they are doing World Champs or so on. And once they get there, they retain water, they're holding, they are swollen, and they cannot get rid of that water soon enough. I'm telling you now that you need to have a flight protocol, and what I do with my athletes, I make sure that they carb deplete on the plane. Make sure that you have no carbs on your flight. Make sure that you drink a lot of water, at least 4 or 5 liters on your flight, obviously per day on your flight. Once you land there, you can start limiting and cutting your water. You need to start moving around frequently. I tell my athletes not to fall asleep on the plane, obviously just push through and, stay awake so that you can actually stand up, walk around on the plane every 20-30 minutes, do some squats, do some lunges, and make sure that you are circulating and pushing that water through your entire body and not giving your body a chance to obviously retain anything. So making sure you do not have carbohydrates on the plane is very important. You can start carb loading when you get to the country you're competing in. Making sure that you are drinking a lot of water when you're on the plane, sipping every few minutes, making sure that your water intake is sky high, and then moving around every 20-30 minutes on your overlays at different airports. You can walk around, be mobile every 20-30 minutes, and you can sleep and rest when you get into the different country. Another tip, probably the last one, I'm going to add in a free one there, is making sure you know what you're doing with your food when you get to the different country, guys. It's one thing obviously cooking your meals here, going your first flight with it internally, but once you hit that international flight, you're not allowed to take any food with you. Obviously regulations, how that is. So make sure when you land, you've got your food sorted. You've got rice with you, you've got your sweet potato with you, whatever it is, your chicken, or whatever your protocol is for obviously your prep leading up to the show. Make sure that you have arranged with the hotel beforehand, or with the restaurant. Phone ahead of time and make sure that you have your food prepped and ready so that you do not skip a meal. It's going to be overwhelming landing there in a different country, going to registration, traveling from place to place. Your food needs to be on point. You guys know how important nutrition is, especially the last 2-3 days leading up to a show, especially in a different country. So make sure that every single meal is on point so that you can be at your best, obviously, as you step onto stage. All the best with your show, guys. Believe in yourself, keep God as your focus and just enjoy it. God bless. See you guys later.